Gyms, physical exercise and fitness can probably be traced back to ancient Greece or Persia, but it largely disappeared within Europe. Now, that's not to say they didn't do any exercise. Of course, there was fencing, horse riding, mob football and that sort of thing. But fitness as we know it today and the physical training didn't necessarily exist. Fitness and training, for fitness and training's sake, can be traced back to the 18th century when Johann Christoph Friedrichs Gutsmuth published the Gymnastics for Youth. And he looked back to the ancients for inspiration and recommended things like climbing, swimming and dancing for fitness. And centre to his philosophy was that the child had to become useful for the state. Another German, Friedrich Ludwig Jahn, expanded on this during the Napoleonic Wars, and this was after Prussia's defeat, and he wanted to improve the Prussian army's capabilities and recover a little bit of national prestige. So he focused on strength and introduced things like the parallel bars, rings and the likes. Meanwhile, over in Denmark, you had Franz Nachtigall, who was training the army there, and in France, a Spaniard, Francisco Amoros, established gyms that encouraged people to dance and sing together and also introduced things like pole vaulting and ladders. And here in Sweden, Pierre-Henrik Ling said no equipment was needed at all and instead just said a series of movements and stretches would do the job. So by the 1820s, a whole series of fitness systems were in place. Now, in 1848, the German method of using equipment to build strength was brought over to America by the 48ers, as they were called. Revolutionaries who took part in the 1848 revolutions but feared persecution, so all fled to America. And these in America were called the Turners when they brought over their fitness system. These were soon joined in America by Francois Delsarte, who brought over the French system, which by then was focused on using techniques, relaxation techniques and posture in order to express emotions through movement. And finally, Hartvig Nielsen brought over the Swedish system of stretching to America, and he's also sometimes wrongfully attributed with creating the Swedish massage. Now, you also had a form of muscular Christianity going on in England, but that doesn't really overlap here. The basis of muscular Christianity in England, by the way, was just getting men ready for war, but people like Thomas Arnold, who was the headmaster of rugby school, always favoured athletics over gymnastics, and there was William Penny Brooks, who formed the Wenlock Games in 1850 in order to improve the health of the working class, but again, athletics were always favoured over gymnastics. Now, in this Olympics, there were events like cricket, cycling and hurdling, but not much in the way of gymnastics like in Sweden or Germany. But interestingly, in 1869, H.H. Brooks won the pentathlon, and he was marked down as being from the German gymnasium. So different mentalities in different nations. And this could explain, might be one of the reasons to explain why England codified most of the sports in the world. Anyway, after the American Civil War, there was an apparent need to get men to become fit, but nobody could agree on the best style. So a sort of battle of the systems ensued, and thousands of people joined different gyms. It's hard to say that any one system won out because all systems seem to have influenced a certain sport or fitness. For instance, the French focus on movement, free movement, might have inspired parkour. The Germans' need for strength would have created bodybuilding, and the Swedish system of stretching and movement would have inspired what you'd now call gymnastics today. So by World War I, most of the systems, including the British sporting system, all sort of merged together into a physical culture, and that's largely remained pretty much the same until today. Now, there is one other system I would like to talk about in another video, but that's the Czech system. But I want to talk about that in a different video because that had some strange political consequences. By World War I, most of the systems had sort of merged together and, along with British sports, formed the physical culture we more or less still have today. But there's one other system I want to make a whole new video about, and that's the Czech system, and I think it deserves its own video because it had strange political undertones to it.